So today, MP salaries will rise over £2,500 to almost £94,000 a year. That's a 2.8% increase. It matches pay recommendations for public sector workers and the current rate of inflation. But MPs have enjoyed a pay rise, get this, every year since 2013, apart from during the COVID pandemic, including a bumper 5.5% increase last April. Every year since 2013. Now, since 2019 election alone, MP salaries, which are decided independently, we should say, they don't get to decide how much they get paid, but those salaries have risen by almost £14,500 since 2019. Nina, it's ironic that, well, you could say ironic is the wrong word, perhaps it's tragic, that on the day where everyone's bills are going to rise to the tune of possibly about £500, £600 a year, MPs are getting a 2.5% pay rise. No,
it's not. And people, everybody deserves a pay rise. Everybody deserves a pay rise, but most of us haven't had one. And whether it's right or wrong, the optics are so bad at the moment that, frankly, the only thing they should do is to defer it for a year, defer it until times are better. You can't expect people to support the government when they are in such, the fact that we're going to be discussing how people are going to manage their bills, household utilities, council tax, everything going up. Don't know what's coming down the line with Trump's tariffs, how that's going to affect us all financially. And yet, if MPs, it just goes against the grain. It really does.
I mean, important to say again that they don't decide their pay rise. It's an independent body.
I do understand that.
Tim?
I think I'm going to leave to go to the bathroom now, because I'm not sure this is a good subject for me to be defending. Look, I think what you mentioned that key point, Alexis, is that MPs don't decide their own salary. There used to be the case in the House of Commons. We used to watch the MPs debate their own salary, and that was terrible. And so what they said was they shouldn't have anything to do with it. It would be given to an independent body, the same kind of independent body that recommends for nurses and other public sector workers. And sometimes it does throw up results that perhaps the public don't like.
But you think
do we really want to go back to a place where MPs are voting themselves on their salary?
But you think they should be paid more?
Well, I think we have too many MPs. So what I would do overall was I would cut the number of MPs in half.
OK.
So we have about 325. We have many more politicians per head of population than most countries in the world. And then we pay them a lot more, because I think we don't have the quality of people going into Parliament anymore. I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I'd like people from heads of industry, heads of hospitals,
all right,
people with real experience.
Cut them in half and pay them more.
Yeah.
Well, look, don't go anywhere, because we're going to be taking your calls on this straight after the break. We'll hear more from Nina and Tim as well. Is it right to give MPs a rise right now, a pay rise? Do you think they should get paid even more, perhaps, as Tim is suggesting? Or do you think that's not a great look while the rest of the country is experiencing bill rises and struggling? 0207. But now let's get straight into the calls on whether MPs should be given a bigger pay rise. Get your calls in now. 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need. Let's get first to Maria in West Midlands. Maria, they're getting this pay rise, but should they be getting it?
Definitely not.
Not? Why not?
No, because people are really struggling.
OK, but do you appreciate that if you're going to pay MPs less and less, or not giving them enough money, as Tim was saying, the calibre of person that you're going to attract is perhaps not going to be as good as if they're paid more? And also it encourages MPs to go out and get second jobs, which means that we're not getting their full attention.
Well, you've got one MP that's claimed £900 of taxpayers' money to keep a dog in a flat.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That was in the papers over the weekend. Perfectly. Yeah. I know it sounds terrible, and I am in no way defending this MP or casting a judgment.
They're just
perfectly within the rules, that bit, Maria. So perhaps we should look at the rules. Yeah. I mean, Tim, I think that the general consensus will be supporting Nina. Do you want to give Maria some arguments against not paying?
Well, on that MP claiming £900 for her pet to stay somewhere, one thing that I would do, you pay people more, but you take away their right to expenses, for example. So everyone would get the same amount of money, and they would have to spend that in their own way, but they wouldn't have all these special examples where people remember the duck house was famously
the
expenses
in
the moat.
the past. So all that would go. They get a fixed salary. We'd all know where we would stand, and there wouldn't be the same sort of abuse.
OK, Maria, thank you for kicking us off. Let's go to David in Cheshire. David, do you think they deserve this pay rise?
Yes, but I don't think they would sign my contract of employment. They should solely represent the constituents. They should not draw money in any way, shape or form from any other organisation.
Right.
They should pay for their own sandwiches, their own beer, the petrol in their own car.
Yeah. OK, David, I think you're agreeing with what Tim's saying. Pay them more, but they have to pay for everything. Nina, what do you make of what David's saying?
Well, I absolutely disagree with the fact that they should be able to take on a second job. We saw in the last term of Parliament, the last 14 years with Tory, there were MPs making money hand over fist. You know, I would have thought that an MP's job is so all-consuming, not just the parliamentary stuff, but looking after the constituents.
But hang on,
they have time to...
But you don't want to pay them more, and you agree with David and Tim that you don't want them to have second jobs.
£93,000, you don't need a second job. You really do not need a second job on £93,000 a year.
Do you not think there's a benefit there if we have some people who are doctors as MPs? They still understand the world, the real world.
I understand we should have a variety of people coming into it, but you are not going to attract the sort of calibre of big business executives. You're not going to get the boss of Marks and Spencer's suddenly saying, well, they've had a rise, so I'm going to go and...
But Henry, you're saying they should stay at £94,000. They shouldn't have second jobs. They shouldn't be allowed to claim so much. I mean, for a lot of those MPs, let's say you're an MP up in Scotland, coming up and down on the train, it's going to cost you a fortune.
I disagree with you about the expenses. I think the expenses... you should have... They should stay. You should have travel expenses. You should have expenses for your office. These are all tools of your business.
All right, David, thank you. Good points from David. Gavin is in London. Gavin, what do you reckon? Do they deserve this pay rise?
No, they don't deserve a pay rise whatsoever. And the reason is you vote MPs there to help their constituency, and at the moment it doesn't feel like that. I feel they're there for their own agenda. And second of all, you know, what with the cut in welfare and benefits, if there's going to be a cut, it should be in the MP wages, not for the vulnerable and the people that are disabled.
I think a lot of people will share your view, Gavin, but when you say they're in it for themselves, what do you mean? Well, I mean, some MPs might not be as good as others, but what do you mean exactly when you say they're in it for themselves?
Well, what I mean is that they're there, I think, to help their buddies, you know, and not... That's just the way it feels like at the moment. They're just a bad vibe coming from the Houses of Parliament.
OK, so you don't feel represented.
I was going to say, Gavin, I can completely understand what you're saying, I think, because, as I say, the last 14 years of Tory government, we were treated to all sorts of situations, say, particularly during the pandemic, where, you know, jobs for the boys, mates got money. And
I'm not sure many people think the Labour Party is much better.
Well, we're not discussing that at the moment. But I'm saying...
just made that point.
The point being that you would hope that people would go into politics to make the lives of their constituents better. And the last 14 years, I feel that the Tory government kind of raped and pillaged the country rather than putting money back into people's pockets.
Tim, you disagree?
Well, I think lots of people are very disappointed with the Labour government very quickly as well. I'm afraid there is a...
They're trying to sort out the mess that was left behind. My God, it's not their fault.
Let's talk about
there is a general problem, without getting into specifics just raised there, there's a general problem with the quality of MP. And it is related to how much they're paid and how well they are treated. I think a lot of the MPs that we currently have need to be cleared out. And we need a whole different kind of MP in office. It's also why I support local mayors, for example, giving local mayors more power, paying them properly, allowing them to run local authorities rather than having lots of councillors.
But local mayors running Birmingham Council, you know, how would they help Birmingham Council? It's Birmingham Council that we were talking about before that has gone bankrupt.
Let me just squeeze one more call in. Patrina has called from Lancashire. Patrina, welcome to the show. Do you think they deserve this pay rise?
No, not really, because I think they take advantage, and sometimes they're not taking on board what the public really want. And the thing is, they already get paid enough money because they get expenses. They get overpaid with their expenses and also freebies. So they get a lot more than what everyday person gets, and really. They get really paid over the odds, I think. So, no, not really, no.
I mean, Patricia's got a point, Tim. They are in the top 5 percentile of wage structure in the UK. So they're in the top 5. They've also got the expenses on the side. And I'm glad Patrina mentioned it. The freebies, which have to be declared and everything has to be above board. I mean, they get a lot, don't they?
They do get a lot. But also...
Sorry, go ahead.
They don't like to declare the freebies. So
there are issues with declarations.
One thing I do know is there's also a lot of job insecurity, and there's more job insecurity. So, for example, I know a lot of Conservative MPs who were booted out at the last election.
Hooray!
And you've made that very clear already. They still haven't found work.
Yeah.
And they left.
Bring out my tiny violin.
They left very well-paying jobs to become MPs, and now they're basically on the scrap heap. So there's a big cost for being an MP. Now you can be mean in the way that you are, fair enough. That's partly your job. But actually, there are big consequences for MPs because of the volatility of our current politics.
If they don't have enough talent to get themselves a decent-paying job, then they shouldn't have been MPs in the first place.
I'm going to draw it to a close.